I want you to do something for me before I start. Think of the oldest photo you have of yourself. Maybe you're a baby. Maybe you're 5, 6 years old. Standing in a garden, or sitting at a birthday table with a cake you can't remember eating. Now think about who else is in that photo. Your parents, maybe. A sibling. A grandparent you've since lost. Now, are you sure that's everyone? Because I used to be sure too. It started the way most things start. Small. Unremarkable. The kind of thing you brush off, because the alternative is too uncomfortable to sit with. My mother passed away 2 years ago. Nothing sudden, an illness, slow and expected. I had time to prepare, which I've since learned means absolutely nothing. You don't prepare for it. You just survive it differently. After she was gone, I went back to her house to sort through her things. She was a collector, my mother. Not of anything valuable, just things. Birthday cards from 30 years ago. Receipts she'd never needed. Ceramic animals on every windowsill. And photographs. Boxes and boxes of photographs. I brought them home with me. 6 shoeboxes, 2 biscuit tins, and a manila envelope sealed with tape so old it had turned the color of skin. I didn't open any of them for months. It was a Sunday in November when I finally sat down with them. I made tea, put on a lamp, and opened the first box. The photos were mostly what I expected. Holidays I half remembered. Christmases with relatives I could no longer name. My parents young in ways that felt almost impossible. They were always just my parents, fixed and permanent, not these 2 nervous-looking kids in flared jeans standing outside a caravan somewhere. And then there were the photos of me. I was maybe 3 in the earliest ones. Sitting on a lawn in a sun hat. Standing on a beach holding something I'd found, too blurry to make out. One of me asleep in a pram, taken from above. I smiled at them the way you do. That particular quiet grief of seeing yourself before you were yourself. I set them aside and kept going. I'd been going through the boxes for about an hour when I got to the biscuit tin. Inside were the formal ones, the ones people used to get developed properly, mounted in those cardboard sleeves from the chemist. My first day of school. A family portrait taken in a studio, all of us stiff and slightly too bright. And one I didn't recognize at all. It was a birthday party. Mine, I think. There was a cake, and I was sitting at the head of the table wearing a paper crown. I looked about 7. The other children around the table were friends from that age, faces I could just about place if I tried. But in the back of the room, standing near the doorway, slightly out of frame, there was someone else. A figure. Adult-sized. Standing very still. The photo was slightly blurred in that corner, the way photos get when something moves at the wrong moment. But it wasn't blurred enough to hide the fact that whoever it was, they were looking directly at the camera. Not at the birthday table. Not at me. At the camera. I set the photo down. I told myself it was probably a parent I didn't recognize. Someone's dad hovering at the back, half in, half out of the party. I told myself it wasn't strange at all. Then I picked up the next photo. Different occasion. A summer barbecue, judging by the garden and the way everyone was squinting. I was in it, maybe 9 or 10. Standing between my parents, holding a juice carton. And there, at the far edge of the photo, near the fence at the back of the garden, the same figure. Same height. Same stillness. The same almost blur, as though the camera had caught them between one state and another. Looking at the camera, I told myself I was imagining it, that I was projecting. Grief does strange things to perception. You start seeing patterns because patterns mean meaning, and meaning means your loss wasn't just random and indifferent. So I put the photos away. I managed 3 days. On the third night, I got the boxes back out, and this time I went through every single photograph methodically. I laid them out across the kitchen table in chronological order, as best I could judge. The figure was in 41 of them. 41 photographs, spanning from when I was approximately 2 years old to when I was 16, birthday parties, school plays, a holiday in Cornwall, my first bicycle, bonfire night in the back garden, Christmas morning. 41 photographs, and in every single one, the figure was in the background. Always slightly at the edge of frame. Always slightly blurred, in a way nothing else in the photo was. Always, always, facing the camera. Not me. The camera. I want to be precise about something, because I know how this sounds. I am not someone who believes in things I can't explain. I'm not particularly spiritual. I don't watch ghost hunting shows. I've always been the person at the dinner party who plays devil's advocate when the conversation turns to the paranormal. And yet, there were things about this figure that I couldn't reason away, no matter how long I sat there trying. The first was the consistency. 41 photos, across 14 years, taken at different times, by different people on different cameras, and the figure appeared in the same way in all of them, same height, same build, same partial blur. If this was a coincidence, it was a coincidence with the patience of something that does not experience time the way we do. The second thing was harder to articulate. In every photo, the figure was close enough to have been noticed. This wasn't the back of a crowd at a distance. At the barbecue, the figure was maybe 4 meters from where I was standing. At the birthday party, they were in the same room. In one photo, taken at a school nativity play when I was 8, they were in the row directly behind my parents. Whoever, or whatever, this was, they were there. Present. In the room, at the party, in our garden. And I have no memory of them. At all. I did what anyone would do. I started asking. My aunt was the first. She was at several of the events, I could see her in the photos themselves. I sent her scans of 3 of the pictures and asked casually, who the person in the background was. She called me instead of texting back. She said she didn't know. She looked at the photos for a long time, she said, and she genuinely could not place the figure. She asked if I'd asked my father. My father looked at the photos and went quiet in a way he doesn't usually go quiet. He said he didn't know who it was. He said, and I've thought about this a great deal since, he said. I'm sure it's nothing. Not, I don't know who that is. Not, maybe it was one of the neighbors. I'm sure it's nothing. He changed the subject. And when I tried to return to it later, he said he was tired. The one person I wanted to ask was the one person I couldn't. I spent a week trying to think whether my mother had ever mentioned anything. An old family friend who'd since moved away. A relative from a branch of the family I'd never met. Someone who was simply always around in those years, so ordinary in their presence that no one thought to introduce them or explain them. I couldn't think of anything. And the absence of that memory, the absolute blankness where an explanation should have been, frightened me more than the photos themselves. I hired someone. I feel slightly embarrassed saying it like that, but it's what I did. I found a woman who described herself as a photo archivist and forensic image analyst. I sent her 20 of the photographs, and asked her to look at the figure in the background of each one. Her report came back 10 days later. She said the blur was unusual. Not motion blur, not the soft smear you get when something moves. She called it focal inconsistency. As though the figure existed at a slightly different depth than everything else in the frame. As though the camera's lens could not quite decide how far away they were. She said she'd never encountered it before in photographs from that era, where everything else in the image was sharp and properly exposed. She said one more thing. And this is the part I've returned to most. She said that in one photograph, the nativity play, the one where the figure was sitting directly behind my parents, she had been able to enhance the image significantly. And she had found that the figure's eyes were not closed, or averted, or looking at the stage. They were looking at me. I was 8 years old in that photograph. I don't have a resolution for you. I want to be honest about that, because I think you deserve honesty more than you deserve a tidy ending. I've shown the photos to everyone I can think of. I've had them analyzed. I've gone through every family letter and document I could find looking for some mention of a person who was always around, always nearby, always watching. Nothing. The figure appears in 41 photographs taken over 14 years. And then they stop. The last photograph they appear in was taken at my 16th birthday. After that, nothing. Not in a single image I can find from my late teens or adulthood, whatever they were there for, whatever they were watching for, it seems they found it. Or finished it, or simply left. I think about that a lot. There's one more thing. I almost didn't include this, because it sounds like the kind of detail people add to make a story feel complete. But it happened, and I think you should know it. About a month after I'd finished going through all the photos, I was putting them back into the boxes. I'd gone through them so many times by then, that I thought I knew every image by heart. I picked up the very first photograph. The one of me on the lawn. The sun hat. Me barely 2 years old. I'd examined this one closely. Multiple times. It had always been just me, alone on the grass, no one else in the frame. I looked at it one more time before putting it away. And in the corner, barely visible, half outside the frame as though they'd only just stepped into the shot. The figure was there. I don't know if I missed it every time before. I don't know if it was always there and my eyes simply refused to register it until now. I don't know a lot of things. But I know that I was 2 years old in that photo. And whoever was standing at the edge of that frame, had been there since almost the beginning. I still have the photos. I don't know why I keep them. Maybe because getting rid of them feels like admitting something I'm not ready to admit. Maybe because somewhere in those 41 images there's an answer I haven't found yet. Or maybe because they're all I have left of her house, her boxes. Her careful, quiet life. And whatever was in those photos. It was there for mine too.